Bună ziua! Suntem astăzi foarte bucuroși să avem aici împreună cu noi pe Nicholas HIMOVICZ, mai bine cunoscut, cred că de toată audiența ca Nick Himo, din canalul său de YouTube cu înregistrări video și consultații pe business foarte recunoscut în toată lumea. Suntem foarte bucuroși. Bună ziua, Nick!
Bună ziua!
Nick HIMOVICZ lucrează pentru o organizație internațională foarte recunoscută în domeniul consultației, în domeniul business-ului, Strategizer, care este cu sediu în Elveția, dar care operează în întreg globul pământesc și acordă consultații în domeniul business-ului pentru diferite corporații, cele mai mari corporații din lume. În special, în particular, se axează pe infrastructură de inovație, innovation infrastructure și innovation, I forget this, capabilities, capacități de inovație. Capabilities. So, acum o să trecem în engleză. So, Nick, welcome. We are very glad to have you here. And hello. Thanks that you have find the time to be with us here and to share with us some of your experiences, some of your knowledge, which most of the time we are watching on your YouTube channel. Yeah. And first of all, I guess I and the fellows that are watching us are interested to know, when did you start your career in this field and business consulting, and how did you come to the idea that this is yours, this is what you should do?
Okay, so there were a few important events that happened. One was I studied a master's in management, business management, and there I learnt about some very interesting ideas around a business model canvas, which was created by this person called Alex Osterwalder. And what it does is it helps you analyze a business and create a business plan as well, just on one piece of paper. And for me, that was really inspiring because, you know, I didn't know that was possible. Normally when you talk about business strategy, we say many big words, but then no one really knows what it means. But being able to visualize it on one piece of paper is very powerful, and the business model canvas enables us to do that. I think later on we might talk about books, and one book that I'll mention later is called Business Model Generation, and that really goes into detail on that, and I'd recommend it to everyone. So I first learned about that there, and then I was working a few years later for a digital consultancy, a digital agency, and we were helping companies to be able to improve their capabilities around technology. For example, like banks that needed to get their employees to be able to teach customers how to use the app, for example. We created training programs for them. And while I was working at this company, I attended a workshop from Alex Osterwalder, the guy that created the Business Model Canvas. That was in 2015. Because I first heard about it in about 2014, I think, so it was the next year, or 2015, 2016. And when I heard him talk about it, it blew my mind. He was talking about the concepts of being able to map out your business strategy on one piece of paper, and also another concept he talked about was trying to understand who's your customer, but instead of creating a profile, because normally when we talk about marketing, we talk about creating a profile. So, for example, you could say a person is 60 years old, they're British, they're male, and they also live in a castle. Yeah, this is the classic example of it. But the thing is, that could be a great example of King Charles now, but it could also be a great example of Ozzy Osbourne, which is, you know, the rock singer, right? So it's not a good process for explaining who are the types of customers you're selling to, using the profile. What's more important is to talk about what's the job to be done of your customer, what's the outcome that they want. And then when you think about marketing in this sense, you think about who are my customers and what are they trying to achieve. Then you can work backwards and create a product that solves their problems. Because before this, what we used to do more was we used to say, I've got a factory, I'm going to make teacups, yeah? And then you go, okay, we'll make loads of them. And then we go, but we don't have any customers. We need to find some customers. And then you find some customers and you sell them the teacups. But actually, another approach that you can do is that you can say, hey, hold on, who are my customers? What problem have they got? And how can I create products and services that help them with that? And this is something, so I then later worked for myself for a few years, actually helping organizations apply these strategies and concepts in their own business. And more recently, I've now joined, I worked at Google as well for a while, but then more recently I've joined a Strategizer, which is the company that Alex Osterwalder created. And now I help teach these concepts through that company, while also doing my own thing as well on my YouTube channel as well. But that's kind of the backstory to how I got into this kind of like innovation consulting and helping organizations to improve their innovation capabilities and infrastructure.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I would say that the fellows, so our audience, our students are young guys, young entrepreneurs. They have the idea and they are very motivated, excited to implement their ideas, yeah? And of course they don't have these skills and knowledge. What are the correct path to take? What's the correct procedure for them? So trial and error, that's an option, but this takes a lot of time. And sometimes it takes so much time that the people just lose their confidence. And of course, your knowledge and your skills, your expertise can be very useful for our fellows. And from this point of view, from this perspective, what would be your, let's say, 3 or 5 main recommendations for our students? What should be their main, skills or to acquire, or maybe the most important things to pay attention?
Okay, so the first thing that I would say is that the first mistake that a lot of people make is they say, I've got a good idea, but I'm not going to share it with anybody else, because my idea is so good, I better not tell anybody.
Yeah.
That's the first mistake, yeah? Ideas are almost worthless.
Yeah.
If I had, if you're watching this and you've got an idea and you think it could be $1 billion idea, try and go to a big multinational corporation and try to make them steal it from you. They won't, They can't. They're not able to do it because they've got their own things they're worrying about. Your idea is worthless. What you need to do is you actually need to tell as many people as you can about the idea and start kind of expanding on it and working out what you can do with it. So the first thing is, don't hold your idea to yourself. Don't worry about sharing it with others. The second thing that I would say is that the second mistake that people make is they try to think of the idea and then the idea becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Where they say, well, actually, they haven't even for example, instead of saying, I'm going to make the next McDonald's and I need to have 100 franchises, that's not going to happen overnight. What you need to do is you need to go back to the beginning and say, what's the smallest way that I can test this idea? So say, for example, you want to start a restaurant. Well, what you could do is you could start off by create a stall on the street and just start trying to sell your burgers and your chips, yeah? And then that would be the first way that you could very easily test your concept, right? Or maybe another recommendation would be to say, look, I've got this idea, and actually I'm looking to set up this restaurant. You could set up a restaurant in your house, yeah? Maybe not legally, but you go with me on this for a little bit. And then what you could do is, before you even like start making food, you could get people to pay you up front for your food. So you could create a sign-up page very quickly, very easily, and then you could get people to agree to pay up front for a meal in your restaurant, in your house. Get them to sign up, and then you know if you work out the numbers and you say, I need 20 people to come, and then I'll do it. And so you could get people to pay £20, 20 people to pay however much money, and then before you've even started buying the produce to cook for them, you could work out, have I got enough people signed up? And if nobody signs up, well, you've just saved yourself a lot of money because nobody was going to buy it anyway, right? But if you get 20 people, that means you've got the money up front, and then you can go and start the business. So try to think about ways that you can start small versions, small prototypes. Don't think too big, start small and then build up. And the other thing is, try and get people to pay you first, and then start trying to build the product or service that you're going to build, rather than spending all the money on the product that you're trying to create, where you could be losing money and then trying to sell it. So those are, I think, the key things there.
Yeah, these are, I guess, beautiful recommendations. And I can't say that if I can fully agree with you that ideas are not so important. Of course they're important, but at the same time I agree that I understand that, because I meet a lot of young people who come to us and just I see their fire in their eyes, they're full of ideas. Some of them, I like them, but and it's good when you see young people of any age, which are, the real generator of ideas. That's good. But to make, and to transform this idea from an idea to make it a final product, to bring a value to the society, it's totally different. It's an art. And I now see and understand and hope the message will get to our audience that this is maybe the area where you are focusing, and you trying to help people how to find their best way to get from the idea to the final product, to this value, and which is actually the idea of innovation, how to make the abstract thing to...
Because there are three questions. The first question is desirability. Do people want to buy what you have? The second question is feasibility. Can you build it? Yeah? And the third question is viability. Can you make money from it? Okay? So you have certain assumptions that you're making when you're trying to start a business. For example, if we're going back to the restaurant idea, right? You're making an assumption that people would want to buy your burgers and chips, right? You don't know whether people in Chisinau want to buy this type of burger and chips, yeah? You don't know actually if you're able to deliver a burger and chips. Maybe you don't have a license because it's not legally possible to do these types of small restaurant tests. Or maybe you don't have a room in your house that you think would be good enough to get people to come to. Or maybe you don't have like a cart that you could use as a stall to try and sell it from on the street. So that's the feasibility. Maybe you do, but maybe you don't. And then the last one is, maybe you can create a burger that people want to buy, that you can actually make, but the ingredients or the stall or maybe the cost of the license might be too expensive for you to be able to actually make any money. So you need to be able to balance what are the costs versus how much revenue you'll make. So think about desirability. Do people want what you want to make? Feasibility, can you deliver it? And third of all, can you make money from it? And often a really good place to start is, do people want what you have to sell? And this is the thing, and there's a book called The Mum Test, yeah? And if you say to your mum, I've got an idea for a business, your mum is going to go, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's the best idea I've ever heard, right?
Yeah.
And so what you don't want to do is tell your mum about it, because that is not going to work. What you need to do is actually tell real potential customers,
Yeah.
and you want them to put money in your hand.
Yeah.
Until the moment that you have money in your hand, you don't have a business.
You need in such a cases, I guess, the devil's lawyer, to tell what's the problems with this. So once you mentioned the book, I know that you pay a lot of attention to education and to personal development, as much as we do here at Lykeion at our Center for Education and Mentoring. And I guess the audience will be very interested to hear from you what would be the reading recommendations, what you'll be for young entrepreneurs.
Of course, working for Strategizer and being a huge fan of theirs, millions of people have read their books. I'd recommend all 5 of their books: Business Model Generation, Value Proposition Design, Testing Business Ideas, The Invincible Company, and High Impact Tools for Teams. Those 5 books are incredible. You can get them, if you just go on Amazon, you can actually buy the Strategizer bundle and you get all 5 books in one go. If you're only going to get one of those, I'd pick, in this context, probably for your audience, Testing Business Ideas first. I think that's a great name for what we're trying to do. We need to test ideas, business ideas, and use a scientific approach. Another book that I recommend that I use a lot is The 6 Thinking Hats by Edward de Bono. I've got a video of that on my YouTube channel. It's a summary as well, which is worth checking out. It's the first video that I had on my channel. I recommend that one. And for the audience as well, I think there's a book by Seth Godin called Linchpin, which says the linchpin is the pin which holds the whole thing together. If you pull the pin out, the whole thing falls down. Yeah. What you want to be, especially as a young person, is working hard to be the linchpin in your organization. If you work so hard that you keep working hard and you're the one that actually is holding everything together, you're becoming much more important, and you can only achieve success that way. You'll definitely be successful if you're the linchpin. So I recommend that book by Seth Godin. And also there's a great book called the Icarus Deception that I recommend by Seth Godin. Edward de Bono's book, The 6 Thinking Hats, Seth Godin's Linchpin, and The Icarus Deception, and all 5 of the Strategizer books are where I would start.
So Nick, thanks a lot for your time. We will definitely will try to find these books to read them. Hope you will have a chance to come back once again next time in Chisinau. We will continue following your YouTube page. Thanks for everything you are doing, and for finding time to be with us. Thanks.
No, an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, Andrei. Thank you.
Mulțumim pentru că ne-ați urmărit. Eu cred că a fost o scurtă prezentare a lui Nick despre ce trebuie să facă și lucruri la care trebuie să atragă atenția un antreprenor începător. Și cred că să fie o recomandare și o introducere foarte bună pentru audienții noștri în cadrul Centrului pentru Educație și Mentoring din Chior. Mulțumim!